Welcome back. Let's continue from where we left off. Okay, this is our fourth and final change order for our oil lubrication series. Thank you for joining us this far. Let's continue our last change order here. So we need to improve the safety of the system. Currently, while a low-level oil tank is being filled, the connected pump started pumping immediately, and that certainly poses a safety hazard. So according to our logic, what we had happening is that if the oil level in the oil tank dropped below 20%, then we managed to shut things down. So somebody came along, they started filling the oil tank, and as soon as the level transmitter said, oh, I'm not below 20% anymore, the pump kicked on, which put our technician in a very dangerous situation. So what we want to do is we want to be able to force the system to not be able to operate if there's been a failure until somebody manages to send a reset signal. Like they're out of the way, they can send a reset signal. So even if the level becomes okay again by filling the oil tank, we need a way to capture that failure state. So, we're going to latch that failure until someone goes to press a reset in order to unlatch it and let the system be able to operate again. So let's see how we can do this. Now what we want to do is we want to be able to change the way that the pump operates so that it's related to the failure, whatever the failure might be at the entire lubrication system level. Only you can't refer at the pump level down in here to the failure state from the entire lubrication system out here. So a way to do that is we need to use an internal attribute, such as our parameters, properties, and state machines that can be changed and be referred to within the component. Now, parameters we mentioned before cannot be modified by the model, right? It's a single one-time, it's a variable assignment to a name, so that won't work. But a property is something that we can update by the model and still be referred to within the model. So that's what we're going to use. So let's add a new property. I'm going to call it a failure state. And then notice it has a logic box, right? So we're going to take the logic we have here at the lubrication system level, and we're going to move this into this failure state so that we can do more logic with it after we add our reset situation. So we're going to double click this to get into our logic box. And we're going to say that the lubrication system is going to set the failure state only while the pumping system, so that'll be the backup pump unit, reports failure, or the oil tank does not report that its level is okay, right? So a handy way to see this is to go up here, and here's our failure currently. So the lubrication system sets failure right now at the lubrication system level when the backup pump unit reports a failure or the oil tank does not report level okay. That's the logic we want, but in this case we're going to set the failure state. So we're going to say that's the way we want that. Good. And now we can simplify the failure logic here at the lubrication system. So we're going to go open the logic for the lubrication system level failure. We're going to get rid of this sentence. We're going to change this to say that the lubrication system will report a failure only while the property, the failure state, is set. Yep, so the lubrication system will report a failure only if the property failure state is set. Good, so now that's dependent on that. And then last, to fix this part, we need to go to the operation of the pump, which was dependent on the oil tank level, and now make that dependent on this failure state as well. So I'm going to double click here, open our logic. I'm going to edit this. We're going to say to operate the main pump unit only while all the following are met. So the lubrication system still needs to receive enable. That hasn't changed. But now instead of the oil tank, we're going to look at that property failure state is not set, right? And so we want that to be clear. It also has to be enabled, and then we'd be good to pump. Check that up there. That's good. So that helps take care of our first situation where we want to make the pump not be able to operate if there's been a failure. But now we need to also be able to reset this failure state. So now that it's been set and it's dependent on this, to do that, we need to add another input into the lubrication system. So someone's going to have to send a reset signal. And then we're going to go change the logic of the failure state so that it knows when to clear it. And to do that, we're going to edit the logic here. And so right now, we have a couple of different time-related choices here. So right now, the lubrication system sets the failure state only while any of these are met, right? And this was our problem. So the oil tank doesn't report the level okay when it's at 20% or below, but if someone starts filling it, all of a sudden the level's okay. Well, that won't be only while that condition occurs anymore, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to change this to a different time option, to a from the moment, right? So the lubrication system will set the failure state from the moment. So as soon as one of these happens, we're going to be in a failed state. So even if the state is then cleared, right? So even if the oil tank starts getting oil, we don't want the system to think that, oh, I'm not in a failure state anymore. So from the moment it fails, we go, nope, we're in a failed state. You're going to have to do something to clear me. So this will set the failure state. Let's check mark. And notice the logic editor realizes this is what you're doing, and so it automatically offers you the sentence to be able to clear the failure state. What is it you need to do to clear it? You've already decided how to set it. What do you have to do to clear it? Well, in this case, we want the lubrication system to clear a failure state from the moment that we receive the reset signal. And after we say OK to this, then we get a conflict resolver, because there are times when you might have a system that's set and a system that's trying to clear, and they both hit at the same time, right? So let's say that while the system's in a failed state because the oil tank was too low, while somebody's in there filling up the oil tank, somebody else up top doesn't realize it and they go pushing the reset button. Well, we don't want that to start up and override the fact that there might be a safety hazard. So when you get these conflict resolvers, you have to decide in your situation how you want it to fail. Please try to fail towards safety as much as possible. So in this case, in case of a conflict, we want it to still set a failure state. So we absolutely don't want this to be cleared unless all the situations are really cleared. All right, congratulations. You've just completed change order number 4 and the entire oil lubrication system example. We look forward to seeing you in our further videos, where we will continue to teach you about other parts of the WonderLogix Studio system. Thanks for joining us.